What is going on, SoFi fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So SoFi submitted some stuff to the SEC, caused it to go down after hours. I'm going to explain what that was, if it's a cause for concern or not. But before I get into any of that, making sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I greatly appreciate that. With that, let's get right to it. So generally speaking, today was a very successful day for SoFi, up roughly about 6.5%. You can even tell based on the intraday chart. And then after hours, it looks like it just dropped roughly about 3.5%, as you can see. So I'm just going to quickly pop over to SoFi's website. These are all the SEC submissions recently. 2 were done on the 14th, 2 on the 15th. Just going to open up these, and both these are for the exact same thing, attributed to the shareholder meeting. I'm just going to open it up, just explain it to you. If you did participate in the shareholder meeting, you'll already know all this. And if you haven't already, you can subscribe, pop over to my channel, because I actually did live stream the shareholder meeting, so you can kind of listen to it all, but still nothing really special per se. They did get everything approved, so it talks on the 5 different proposal points, but like I said, it was all generally approved, and this document just verifies that. But ultimately, people are caring about this. So it is a securities registration statement simplified form. So when you do open this, generally speaking, you are more so caught off guard. So you kind of scroll down a little bit, and then you see $1 billion. And then, in my opinion, this is where people just immediately jump to conclusion. They go in their broker and they hit sell. And that is basically what kind of aided in it going down. Nobody doing their proper due diligence. People just seeing that $1 billion kind of point. And that is it. On a side note, I'm not a financial advisor, so do your own due diligence at the end of the day. But I want to quickly pop back over to here. So securities registration statement. What is a registration statement? Typically, that's when a company is submitting or intending on doing a offering. So a registration statement is basically the first steps in doing so, and Seeking Alpha did jump all over this. They were very fast on this. Seeking Alpha typically is very fast at spreading out a lot of FUD, whether it's actually accurate or not. But SoFi Technologies files for $1 billion mixed shelf offering. What is a shelf offering, you ask? Very good question. So right here, a shelf offering is a SEC provision that allows an equity issuer to register a new issue of securities without having to sell the entire issue at once. The issuer can instead sell portions of the issue over a 3-year period without re-registering the security or incurring penalties. And so if you do look at this document, I'm not going to go over this in depth because it is 117 pages, but in here it does talk on a $92,000 kind of SEC payment. So it does coincide with a shelf offering, so take that how you see that. But ultimately, it does talk also in here basically on common shares, also on warrants, preferred shares, and kind of what their intended thing is. Just want to quickly go back here because there was also equally submitted a post-effective amendment to registration statement, and they're basically piggybacking off of the submission that was done in March of 2022. So ultimately, what is being done? Because if you read these 2 documents independently, then yes, you can easily jump to conclusions saying that there is going to be an issuance, blah, blah, blah. But if you read them together, this is where things get a little bit more ambiguous. Are they just kind of amending it? Because if you do open the amendment, there is several different notable changes. They do change as far as the definition of risk for SoFi. So as far as what their risks investing in a common share of SoFi, it does appear to be a little bit more risky based on here. In addition to, they do add several different articles, and in the articles it talks on a lot of different things. Like I said, it's a lot of documentation. This one particular one is 56 pages, mostly made up of articles and things like that, like I said. But this is just a amendment, so this is where a lot of people are a little bit more ambiguous. I can see on Twitter as well, nobody knows exactly how to interpret all of this. But again, it comes down to it though, that the registration statement is typically the first step before an actual issuance is submitted, or at least kind of put out there. But the fact is that the securities registration statement, so this documentation right here, is actually dated on the 15th. It does not refer anywhere in there that it is a amendment. But generally speaking, especially as well in there, it talks on recent SEC filing fees. So I'm just going to quickly pop here, back over here, and right here, part 2, item number 14, it does talk on SEC registration fee of $92,700, which which again kind of coincides with what 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗖𝗧 is actually saying, and technically what the definition of what a shelf offering is, and ultimately how they have to pay the SEC for submission, blah blah blah. You guys already kind of generally know that. But based on this documentation and the fact that they refer to recent SEC registration fees, it does lead you to jump to conclusions. Like I said, this is most likely the first step of before an issuance is actually coming. But again, if this is actually true, then that is just going to be a offering that is done and spread out over a 3-year period. So it is a little bit more of a negative kind of connotation, especially a lot of people were a little bit more iffy on a reverse split, and that did actually get approved. So that went down the pipeline, and then now this $1 billion. It leads a little bit more of a sour taste in investors' minds. But still, as far as your due diligence, let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. But this is where you can kind of read this till you're blue in the face, especially it does appear to have a little bit more contradicting SEC submissions at the same time. So one of which is just a basic amendment. The other one, it does appear as though they are an actual issuing shares going to be, or at least in the future. My own 2 cents. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. If they do $1 billion of a issuance, there might be a little bit more of a cause for concern, a little bit more of a sell-off in my own 2 cents. But again, if this is more of just an amendment to kind of factor in, which was more so said from the shareholder meeting, because keep in mind in the shareholder meeting, there was some things of monetary value that most likely is going to influence, and obviously doesn't come out of nowhere, right? They need to technically either issue shares or do something, buy back shares to accommodate for this. Number 2, it does talk on compensation as far as the executive officers. Number 4, which I did do a video on, is the stock incentive plan. So obviously they need to take and kind of vest of shares for the future, and that is a 10-year vesting period. I was a little bit more interested in that regard. And then technically the reverse split. There's a lot of different factors all happening at once, so let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. I greatly appreciate that. And with that said, I appreciate you guys watching, and let's all make a lot of money on SoFi.